Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Devils and Gods Country. I'm one of your hosts, Casper Rigsby. Our lovely, talented co-host, Miss Allie Jackson, is here with us tonight. Miss Allie's a little under the weather, so she's not doing the video thing, but she will be chiming in whenever she feels like she wants to add something to the conversation. You want to say hi, Miss Allie?
Hi, everybody.
Also with us, of course, is our other co-host, Mr. Tony Prouse, who runs the Atheist Ranger YouTube page. Check out his YouTube page. He needs just a few more subscriptions, man. He's trying to hit that mark, so get him a couple more subscriptions over there. That'd be awesome. Atheist Ranger on YouTube. Check it out. So tonight's conversation, we're going to talk about victim blaming and shaming, and what brought us around to this topic is a recent incident, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but a young girl was raped by a youth minister at her church, and apparently the church elders and deacons have decided that in order for her not to be ostracized and put out of the church, she, the rape victim, needs to apologize to her rapist wife for apparently being too provocative and causing this man to fucking rape her. Like, because, you know, it's her fucking fault that this man decided to rape her. That's her fault. And so I felt like, you know, this is just something we should definitely have a conversation about, because it's, you know, there's a weird atmosphere out there right now. You know, within the atheist community, within the community at large, dealing with feminism, dealing with rape culture, dealing with all these sort of issues, and there's just some sort of weird battle lines being drawn out there. You know, we've got the MRAs out there, these men's rights activists, who are basically saying feminism is horseshit, and, you know, we don't need feminists, and what about men's rights? What about the guys out there? And, you know, yeah, guys are mistreated from a legal standpoint on more than a few occasions. It happens. There's definitely some issues of sexism against men that probably should be dealt with. A lot of those issues stem from a long-seated idea of, I won't even say patriarchy. It's just this idea of what a man is supposed to be. And so, you know, when men don't fit into those categories, you know, there's hate by other men. Obviously, it comes with a lot of homophobic slurs and shit. You know, if you don't, if you seem even the slightest bit enlightened towards maybe thinking that, you know, women need a little bit fairer shake in life, then obviously you're a faggot. You have no dick. You're a tiny dick little piece of shit. Because, you know, what about men? What about the dudes? It's a real fucked up area. All across the board. But then we deal with cases like this, where an entire church group, we're talking about deacons and elders, the people who are, you know, the leaders of this church, are basically, you know, blaming this girl for the actions of a rapist. And it's weird, because it's sort of a weird way for them to be rape apologists without, you know, seeming like they're really rape apologists. Like, oh, it's, you know, yeah, he raped her and he shouldn't have done that, but it was her fault. Like, maybe she shouldn't have worn such short skirts, or any number of fucking things. Oh, her lipstick was too fucking red, so, you know, she brought it on herself. And that's just a terrible fucking mindset to have. It's absolutely horrible, to come out to come out and blame the victim for what happened to them, as if they provoked this. Allie said she has something she wants to add, so I'll turn it over to Allie.
Yeah, I grew up in a church, and I did grow up with youth ministers and pastors and things of that nature. And you know, in my church, we did have very strict dress code for girls. And it absolutely was because, you know, if we dressed a certain way, we were sluts, and it was going to pull the boys off of a wrong path. And, you know, I never had a problem with that because I came from a household where my mother drove into my head I was a slut if I did anything. I mean, shit, if I failed, I was a slut because then I was destined to a life of prostitution. I mean, like, seriously, it was ridiculous. So I've always been very conservative with my dress. And it does stem from it being beaten into my head through my entire childhood. As a woman is supposed to be conservative. A woman is supposed to not want to show her breasts or do this or that. And so, you know, I remember after I decided I hated the Baptist religion, but I was going to keep on exploring religion. And one of my best friends was another Protestant religion. And so I would go to church with her all the time, multiple times a week. We were heavily involved in the youth group. We'd go to youth organization, get-togethers and meetings and things like that. And we grew very close to the youth pastor. And even outside of church, if a girl wore short shorts, and by short shorts, I'm talking shorts that came an inch above the knee or shorter, that was considered short shorts. And also, whenever we'd go to summer camps with this organization, girls and boys had to swim at different times, and girls had to wear t-shirts over their one-piece bathing suits. We're talking, this was that freaking conservative. And even then, the youth pastor ended up leaving because he became sexually involved with one of our friends. So, I mean, it's beaten into us that it's our fault, and that if a man is tempted by us in any sort of way, it's our fault. So this young girl, when I was reading the story, my mind kind of went back to a place where it started from, and I thought to myself, oh my God, that poor girl must feel so guilty. And I immediately had to stop and say, wow, what the fuck? I haven't had that kind of thought or first reaction in so long. But just reading and putting myself back into that place where she was, it put myself back into that mentality. And it made me happy that I was able to catch myself and be like, wow, what a terrible thought you just had. But you know, a lot of people, what's sick is a lot of people are still feeling this way. And a lot of girls who read that story who are Christian probably telling themselves, wow, this girl must feel so guilty for what happened. Sure, she didn't want to be sexually assaulted by a grown man, you know, but somewhere down the line, she tempted him. She must feel guilty, even though all those terrible things happened to her. On top of that, she probably feels guilt. And that is so fucked up. And it's so sad. And it's so just, it's a cry is what it is. Anyone who has that kind of reaction, you know, and still believes that's the correct reaction to have, is that this poor girl must feel so guilty for what she's done. You know, it's just more proof that we need to start changing and getting away from this mentality of women being this pure thing. And the more pure we are, the less tempted men are going to be, because that's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's not up to a girl to control whether a man is tempted or not. It's not up to a girl to have to dress a certain way to prevent a man from being tempted. This man was married. This man had little children. You know, he wasn't thinking that about the parents of the child he was fucking. He was raping. He was molesting. He didn't care. This is him. He's the asshole. He's the problem. He's what's wrong. And everyone who supports this or puts any sort of blame whatsoever on this girl, it's not okay. If she's feeling guilt right now, that's not okay. She should not feel guilt because she didn't do, even if she did, Even if she wore bikinis and bright red lipstick and did her hair all pretty and 10-inch high heels and danced in this man's lap. She's a fucking child. It was against the law. It was against what he preaches, and he should have removed himself from the situation.
Would you like to add something, Tony?
No, you both said it. I got nothing to say for now. Sorry.
Well, you know, the shit eats at my ass because this notion that it's up to a woman to dictate what men do to them is just, it's the most asinine thing in the world. Like, men aren't supposed to be held responsible. And what kills me about this is we have so many of these people, and I'm sure that many of these pastors and deacons and the elders in this church that we're talking about, I would bet you $1 to a donut that these same men are, you know, sitting around with their buddies talking about how Muslim men come into secular countries and they're just raping women left and right, you know, because they think their libidos are so high and shit. And they'll sit there and talk shit about that. And of course, yes, we should be discussing that because that's a fucked up situation. But it's the same fucking mindset. It's the same fucking mindset that those men have, where they think it's up to the women to be responsible for not provoking a man into being incapable of personal responsibility and being capable of, you know, controlling where the fuck he puts his hands or his fucking dick. I'm pretty sure that your hands and your dick are attached to your motherfucking body, and they're controlled by your fucking brain. And so when you do something with those items, especially something that is forward or untoward towards a woman or a child or another human being, period, that's on you. And that's only on you. I don't care if a woman is walking down the street butt-ass naked. That is not an invitation to rape her. That is not an invitation to touch her. That is not an invitation to fucking catcall her or to say lewd shit to her. You should still be able to control yourself and say, oh, well, that's a woman walking down the street naked. Okay, that happened. And go on about your fucking day. You know, if you want to comment about, hey, maybe you should put some clothes on, okay, that's not uncalled for, because honestly, you're breaking the law if you're walking down the street naked. You know, that's actually against the law, and I think most states, I'm pretty sure, you can't really walk down the street naked. But, you know, when you decide that you're going to take it upon yourself to put your hands on another individual, that's on you. Like, you're the one at fault there. So, and what kills me here is they're asking this girl to apologize to this man's wife for what this man did to ruin his own fucking life, as if it's her fault that he couldn't control himself. No. And she doesn't need to apologize to the wife. The only person that owes that wife an apology is her husband, who is a fucking child rapist. That's who owes an apology. He's the only fucking one. She doesn't owe the wife shit. Not a fucking thing. I don't know. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's preposterous. And you know what though, Casper? That fits right in line with the Christian mentality of pitting women against women. Okay? That fits right fucking goddamn in line with it, because here we've got this woman who feels jaded. Okay, something bad happened to her. And instead of them being like, your fucking husband did it, they're saying, this little girl needs to apologize to you for tempting your husband. Right? So what is that wife left to feel? She's left to feel that she's been victimized by another woman. And it's pitting women against women. And that's something that's been going on forever. I think it's sad. I think it's pathetic. The Freedom from Atheism Foundation, which I believe is a PO, in and of itself, because it's just too ridiculous to be serious. But we get a good laugh out of their bullshit. So, we posted a post that they made about Christian women, and they show this pretty young blonde hair, straight with little curls at the end. That's what a Christian woman looks like. And then an atheist woman is this short hair. It looks just like Tony's there. Short hair. She's got an old face, and she's yelling, so her teeth are kind of exposed. Ugly. Christian women are pretty, atheist women are ugly. But then what's sad is, like, I thought everyone would gawk at the audacity of that, because that's just ridiculous. What the fuck kind of generalization is that? But all it did was the women that follow our page started posting pictures of Kim Davis, and how Kim Davis is an ugly woman. So that's what all Christian women are like. And then look at this woman, she's hot. I bet she's an atheist. And it's like, why are we pitting women against each other? The point here was not to pit women against each other. The point here was, but what was the ridiculousness of this generalization. And instead of people wanting to get mad at the organization for pitting women against each other, making a really stupid generalization, instead of that, they decided it was a war against women, a war between women. No, it's the atheist women that are really prettier. Fuck that. In our community, we've got amazing women. Okay, we've got women that aren't so amazing. We've got gorgeous women. We have women that aren't so gorgeous. And I would say the exact same fucking thing about Christianity or Muslim faith or Jewish. It doesn't matter. It's just women. It's just women. Women everywhere are that way. And no matter how amazing you are, there's always going to be somebody better than you. There's always going to be somebody hotter than you. There's always going to be somebody smarter than you, more talented than you, everything. So quit it. Quit the war of pitting women against each other. We don't need that anymore. It's so 1950s and even beyond that. But I just like to refer back to the 1950s with the milkshakes, the fast cars, and the racism. It's everybody's perfect era when it absolutely was not perfect. But and I think about the 50s when the women were in their little aprons and they cooked in the kitchen and they got their little bottoms patted when they did a good job at work, if they got to work as a secretary. And it's just, I feel like whenever we do this, whenever we talk about things like this, whenever we see an example of women being pit against women, I feel like I'm back in the 1950s, and I feel like I just need to get my ass in the kitchen and start baking some cookies, and hopefully everyone will stop being mad at each other. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up that here it is. It's 2016. We're acting like it's the 1950s. We're acting like women are just objects that we can pawn our problems off onto. Here's this man, this grown-ass fucking man who had himself a career, who had himself a family, who should absolutely be willing and ready and able to stand up on his own and take responsibility for his actions. But he is going to let a 16-year-old, and I imagine he's in jail now. I do believe he is in jail now. I don't know if he was in jail at the time of the apology, but even from jail, to let a little girl sit there and have to apologize to his wife for his actions, he should have rejected that. He should have rejected that. This was my choice. I'm sitting here in jail. I'm going to take responsibility for this. This is nobody's fault but my own. That's the way that should have gone down. Here we are. We've got this little girl being forced to take the responsibility. That was this grown man's fault. And if the other women were anything like I was when I was in the Christian community, this was an acceptable thing to do because the 16-year-old probably feels guilt. And that's just so sad. It's just so fucked up. That's all I have to say about it.
You got anything, Tony?
For me, this all goes back to the question I always ask well, not every, but most Christian women that I talk to, and that is, why the hell are you following this religion? I mean, and it just cracks me up because I get crap all the time from not only Christians but other atheists who say that, oh, well, Christianity isn't misogynistic anymore. When I read story about this all the time. In fact, the story I shared with you guys on Facebook about how Kirk Cameron thinks that what did he say? He said Kirk Cameron thinks that women should never ever correct their husbands, never leave their husbands, never tell them how to be better husbands. So even if your husband's beating, so let me see if I got this straight here, Camry. Even if, let's say, a husband is beating his wife, she can't leave him. She can't say, "Hey, stop that." That's the kind of shit that Christianity promotes, and I'm tired of hearing that it's not misogynistic anymore when I read stories like this almost probably every couple of weeks.
No, can I add something to that then, Tony? Because I can give you a woman's perspective, and it's going to be downright ugly, and it's going to be outrageously honest. And Christian women are going to say that what I'm telling you isn't true, but it is, and I can tell you that from experience because I've got the guts to at least say this is what I used to feel, and it's embarrassing, but I'm over it. The reason why women still follow Christianity is because it's easy. It is so much easier. Imagine you waking up in the morning and you knowing your duties, right? You knowing your roles. You knowing exactly what you have to do in your life to make everyone happy. You know? It's your responsibility to please your husband. You don't have to say anything, which means you don't have to be held accountable for shit. We look at this woman who just killed her baby in Georgia because because her husband said that they needed to starve it and get the faith healer to pray for it. So this woman, they asked her, why didn't you just ignore your husband and take your baby to the doctor if you wanted to take the baby to the doctor that bad? You know what she said? It says in the Bible that I am not supposed to question my husband. I am supposed to go to him and listen to him 100%. He has 100% authority. And who am I to question my husband? Now, how easy is that, Tony? You might think that it doesn't make you happy, but to never be held accountable for shit, to know your place, that's comfortable. That's easy. You know, when you start running your mouth out here on YouTube and you start disagreeing with people's ideas and you start calling people out saying, I don't agree with you, you're wrong about this, people start fighting back at you. And people start fighting back at women hard. I'm not saying men don't get it too, but women on top of that, we get blasted for our looks, we get blasted for our bodies, we get blasted for everything else on top of what we say. And that's hard. So when you have a choice to either be compliant and live a simple, happy little life, or give it up for some free thought, which you have to be held accountable for, I think a lot of people are going to choose comfort. I do. And I think it's sad. I think it's pathetic, but I do. I think a lot of people much rather know their place and know what their role is to please others than to actually get out there and try to make themselves happy.
No, I think that's some great points, Ellie. Definitely. And it's easy for me as a guy to sit here and talk about what I see from my perspective, but I don't have to deal with this shit. I don't. Yeah, I get berated for my looks and shit. Let's see. Most recently, I'm a sweaty neckbeard. Just all sorts of silly shit. But honestly, it just doesn't even it doesn't even affect me. I'm just like, okay, thank you for that estimable comment there. And I think there's a whole nother level to all this, and a sort of a flip side to it that we should discuss too, is when we talk about the wife of this pastor, this youth minister, um, there's a whole nother dichotomy that's going on with her right now that a lot of us probably don't really even think about, which is the fact that within that church, there are members of that church who are blaming her for this event. They're blaming her for her husband straying from her. They're asking to themselves and in their little fucking gossip groups, well, she must not have been keeping her husband happy. What's wrong with her that she couldn't keep her husband happy and he had to go after this little girl? So now that she's getting these shitty looks, she's getting this fucking gossip train rolling behind her. And, you know, to some degree, yeah, there's some shit going on for her that's totally uncalled for as well. Now, does this mean this young girl who was raped needs to issue an apology to the wife? No, of course not. It wasn't the young girl's fault, and it wasn't the wife's fault. It was her fucking husband's fault. It was entirely his fault. Entirely, 100% his fucking fault. And the only person that anybody should be scrutinizing is him. Why the fuck did you think it was acceptable to fuck a child? Why the fuck did you think it was acceptable to cheat on your wife? Why? Why was that okay in your fucking mind? You know, but there of course, and having grown up in church communities, you know, my grandfather was a pastor. He's been a minister his whole life. He still preaches to this day, even at well over 80 years old. He, you know, preaches as a guest preacher at many church events, and I've grown up in these communities. You know, I've been the little kid that was drug around during the gossip trains and the fucking the hair circles where everybody, all the little women get together and do each other's hair and all this other little crap, and then you have these church get-togethers and eating functions, and you see these little groups get together and they're all talking shit about each other behind each other's backs. And so, yeah, you know, that wife is definitely probably going through some shit at her church with people talking shit behind her back. And that's not fair either. That's not fair to her in the least. It still doesn't have anything to do with the young woman who was raped. I mean, it still doesn't have anything to do with her. You know, this has to do with the human nature, I guess, and I don't even want to say it's human nature, because a lot of us have really drifted away from this idea that it's okay to just sit around and talk shit about people behind their backs. You know, a lot of us are just like, look, if I'm gonna talk shit about you, do it to your fucking face. You know, if I got a problem with you, just let me flat out say it to your fucking face. You know, I don't want to sit behind your back and talk shit about you, because that's petty. You know, it's petty. It's fucking pointless. And if I really have an issue with the things that you're saying or the things that you're doing, how can I possibly expect to make any headway on those issues or to change your mindset if all I'm doing is talking shit behind your back? You know? If all I'm doing is throwing around ad hominems and fucking trying to make fun of you and trying to fucking, you know, just beat you down behind your fucking back, never come to your face and actually, you know, state my side of the equation here, you know, state my opinion to you as a fellow human being to another human being. But it's a terrible thing that does happen so often, and especially in these church communities, you know. And it's one of the, you know, a lot of people that are, you know, formally religious. You know, I've talked to plenty of atheists who used to be religious and now they're, you know, trying to find their place in the atheist community. And one of the things that they say quite often is, I don't feel that same sense of community within the atheist community that I did in my church or with you know, with my church groups, and I'm missing that thing. And then I think a lot of them can't really look at the flip side of that and see what it is that they're not missing, you know? Like, how many people aren't talking shit behind your back about this, that, or the other? You know, how many people are not talking about how they saw you going into the fucking bar the other night, you know, while they're sitting on the back pew and you're sitting up there with your family? You know, there's a whole dichotomy that's, you know, it's a give and take. You're going to lose a little something in your sense of community, but the reality is that community is not always a very healthy community. It's just not, and it's not physically or emotionally healthy for a lot of people. So I think it's something that we have to let go of in thinking that we need that sort of community, and we have to take the bad with the good, as far as that goes. Being an atheist means that you get to choose your community. You get to choose the people that you hang out with, that you talk to, that you have conversations with. You don't have to like other atheists. You don't have to agree with other atheists. So, you're able to build your own community, and it's people that you want to be around. So, you got anything you want to add, Allie?
Yeah, I do. So, you definitely hit the nail on the head with the gossip hair crowds there. You and I grew up in churches. Like, I know I have been to, I can't count on my fingers and toes twice over how many different churches I've been to in different communities. When I would spend summers with family, I would get involved with their youth groups and churches, and we'd move all over. And I had a huge family. Okay, I'm the youngest of 45 grandchildren. So I've been to some churches in my day, and there's never been one church that didn't have the crowds, the get-togethers, the gossip, the bullshit. But here's something that I did kind of notice, and I feel like this needs to be said too. The pastor's wife and the youth pastor's wife are kind of like the first and second lady of that little world there, of that little country they call their church, because everything that goes on there is totally, the outside world just kind of disappears once you're there at that church. And they're kind of the first and second ladies. So while they do get a lot of the shit spoken behind their back, they get a lot of their ass kissed, okay? And they love it. They love the attention it brings. They love the power they have over the women. And one of the churches in particular, the Church of Christ, was a church that very much so honored the fact that women were not to speak when a man was present. So we couldn't pray, even in our own women's circle. If a husband showed up, we could not pray to God. He would have to come and pray to God, because women were not supposed to speak up to the Lord when a man was present. And it was oftentimes when we would be around each other that it would be the pastor's wife or the youth pastor's wife who would ask the man to leave, or they were the go-getters. They were the women. So I can imagine in this church, and I believe it was a Baptist church, which still very much carried the same kind of aspect there. The women still were glorified the same. I can imagine in this church that this woman was looking for some sort of vindication. She wanted that apology, I think, just as much as anything else. Because let me tell you, if I were married to a youth pastor who raped a child, I would stand up in front of that church and say, "No, ma'am, you sit down. Let me tell you, I'm sorry this happened to you. You owe me nothing, okay? But everyone here owes you their support and their love." And that's what the fuck I would have done, okay? And she would have gotten my apology. But this wife allows the 16-year-old to apologize because it kind of gave her authority back. It kind of gave her, a little bit of her pride back. And that's sick. If we really look at the anatomy of a church and anatomy of the groups and the way they all piece together in this sick fucking body, it's fucked up. And we get that complaint all the time. The atheist community is nothing like the church I came from. I still love to show up to random churches. Okay, especially the country churches. I love to go there because every Sunday they don't know me. They don't know who I am. and they greet me with these big smiles and hugs, and I meet like 10 awesome people who absolutely love me and want to hug me and shake my hand, and it feels great. For that 1 hour that I'm there, it feels fucking amazing. But I would not carry that any further than one Sunday, because I know what comes with that. I know the rest of the bullshit that comes after that one meet and greet. After that one time they build you up, make you feel good, and make you feel loved, and make you feel like you're a part of the community. That's when they start dissecting you. And I've been there. I've been there too many times. I know exactly what it is. And, you know, I think that it's sick that this woman, even though her husband did what he did, she should have stood strong, and she should not have let a child apologize to her. That's what a good woman, in my opinion, would have done. So this woman has issues, which we all know. Many women that are heavily involved in church politics have issues. You know, and anyone's free to argue with me about that. But I've been to enough to where I feel like it's a very good sample there. And you know, I have no respect for this woman whatsoever. I understand she's grieving. She just lost the life that she built so hard, and I'm sure she did the cookies and the bake sales and the fundraisers for church and the events, and she made that nasty, disgusting, watered down Kool-Aid for the kids during vacation Bible school. I'm sure she did all that shit. Okay, and you know, it sucks for her. What happened also sucks for her. But her sitting there and letting a rape victim apologize to her for her own rape, this woman loses all credibility with me. She flavoring. But yeah, I mean, she loses all respect from me. No good woman would let that happen.
You know, and I think you bring up an interesting point, because there's a correlation that can be made here, and in dealing with the secular community as well, and not necessarily the atheist community, but just as a general rule in society, when you see women in a position of power or any sort of authority, or if that bug just got me, or if you know, if they're aligned with a man who has some power and authority, and this sort of thing happens, we see the same sort of the same sort of mindset come forward. And one of the cases that we can bring up that's just, you know, really obvious would be the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky situation. And how much was Monica demonized by the media and by people, you know, in general, for her apparent complicity in what happened with Bill? And how many people were just like, oh, well, you owe Hillary a fucking apology, you fucked up Hillary's life. And how fucked up is that? Because, you know, this is still a man in a position of power who took advantage of one of his interns. And whether she was complicit in it even in the least doesn't excuse his actions. It's still not on her to be like, oh, well, yeah, this was all my fault. My bad. You know, we're talking about the guy who sat in front of Congress and said, well, that depends on what your definition of is. What the fuck? Did that really happen? Like, we're what, 30 years past that point, and still people were like, well, that depends on what your definition of is. Like, we still remember that, you know, and yet there are the people out there who are still just like, fuck Monica Lewinsky. You know, she was a fucking trifling bitch who fucking tried to ruin Hillary and Bill's lives, and especially Hillary. We see a lot of these people who are just like, oh, you know, you fucked up on Hillary's point, and I'm just like, why didn't Hillary fucking leave? You know, just because he's the fucking president doesn't mean you have to just stay there. Like, I get that you may think that there's something redeemable there, you know, and maybe it's up to you to work through your marriage the way you see fit. Cool. But, like, don't be fucking pissing on Monica because she was in a position where she thought, hey, maybe I can get ahead a little bit if I just let this crazy handsy motherfucker put a fucking cigar in my pussy, maybe I can get ahead a little bit, you know. She has some modicum of responsibility there in being involved, but you know, she doesn't owe an apology to Hillary. It's the same thing with this little girl, you know. Like, no matter what this young girl was doing, she doesn't owe an apology to this man's wife. Like, she just doesn't.
No, and that's a very good point. I think that all too often people want to blame the other woman. I for one, don't in any way condone, you know, cheating or affairs. If you want to have an open relationship, you abide by your rules, you know, and that's fine by me. But when women expect other women to apologize to them for cheating, or for their man cheating, you know, Monica wasn't in that relationship. Monica did not vow before God and her family that she was going to stay faithful to Hillary. She doesn't owe Hillary any sort of apology whatsoever. And that goes for any woman who your husband decides, or boyfriend or whatever, partner who steps out of the boundaries of your rules that you've set in your relationship. The person that your significant other chooses to break those rules with owes you nothing. They owe you nothing. Even if they know that you're happily married, you had children, you had a life, it is your significant other that took that, you know, away from you. If you want to look at it that way, it's them that broke your trust. It's them that stepped out of the boundaries with you. And so nobody else in that, because we see all too often, you know, even kids, girls have killed each other over a man. You know, I know he was cheating on you, cheating on me with you, blah, blah, blah. And they've killed each other. And it's like, if we would quit pitting women against each other, quit making us believe that we're enemies of each other, and start actually putting blame where the blame is due. And it happens, you know, between men and women too. I'm not sitting here saying that men are the only people who cheat. I know that's not true. I know it's far from true. But, you know, when we're talking about situations like this, I've only ever publicly seen situations where women feel the need that the person that their spouse cheated on needs to apologize. I think that's really messed up.
You know what?
Add something, Tony?
No, I was just gonna say, I had to say this, but I think this is just a fucking Southern thing. Because trust me, you were to walk up to any Delaware woman, if any man would have walked up to a Delaware woman and said, you know what, you're my property, and everything that I'm sure this guy was preaching, that, you know, you're beneath me, you can't question me. I promise you say that to any Delaware woman, I promise you'll get a tire iron upside the head. So you know what? For this hangout, I'm just gonna say hashtag succeed from the South.
No, it's.
I don't know about that. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in some places up north, and I've had friends. I was a military wife, and maybe that's where it stems from too. Is, you know, I grew up in the military. I was a military wife, and I saw it everywhere. I saw it on the base. I saw it off the base with my friends. And cheating is a pretty common issue in the military. You know, if it's not in if it doesn't happen in your zip code, it's not considered cheating, men will say. But and again, women too. But I've only heard it from men. It's everywhere. It really is. And while I'm sure you're right, a lot of this does stem from the South. Probably does stem from old tradition, old religious things. The situation where women blame the other woman. She was a slut, you know, she was a stripper, and he met her at the strip club, and blah blah blah. She should know. No, it doesn't matter if she did know. It doesn't matter if she was your best friend for 10,000 years, and your spouse decided to step out on your relationship with her. While she did violate your friendship, and you can be pissed as shit about that. You know, you can't, the person who deserves the blame for fucking up your relationship is your significant other, you know? And you can sit there and say, well, I was a terrible person to you. I deserve some of the blame. Okay. You know, if you pushed him away for years and you were a cunt and you did terrible things yourself and he finally decided to do that, I do believe that in a relationship, both parties share some of the responsibility for that. I do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone would like to challenge me on that and change the way I feel about that. It's not a strong opinion, but I do think that some people do deserve that blame. But when it happens and when he decides or she decides to step out of that relationship and break the rules of your relationship, you know, we can come back to the fact that they could have left. She was being a cunt. She was pushing you away. You could have left before you went off cheating on her. You know, it's the responsibility is there.
You know, and I think here again we're almost talking about two separate issues, because let's understand that what two consenting adults do with each other is a matter between two consenting adults. But what we're talking about with this young girl in this church is a matter of rape. This man raped this young girl. She didn't consent to anything.
Very true. That's very true.
You know? She wasn't involved in a complicit relationship with this man, you know, in the, you know, actually being involved in a cheating scenario. She was raped by a man. And yet the church said, oh, well, it's your fault. And what really just pisses me off, okay, is the fact that it's not just the church. It's not. There is this sort of backwards mentality amongst a great portion of society in general, even within the atheist community, that has this notion that females are responsible for causing men to do heinous shit like raping them. And I recently watched a video not that long ago where these two atheist YouTube personalities decided that they were going to basically make an apologetics argument on behalf of Brock Turner, in saying that his rape wasn't rapey enough for it to be considered, you know, something that deserved real punishment. Oh, he got what he deserved. He got his 6 months. Because his rape wasn't rapey enough. And, of course, they put that up against the example of a young woman who was accosted and drug off and fucking gang raped and then murdered and fed to an alligator. And they're just like, well, are these two the same? Of course they're not the same. So, you know, it's, you know, they left the party together. That was their shit. They left the party together. Everybody said they left the party together, so, you know. So he only deserves 6 months for raping her because they left a party together? And he fucking rapes her while she's unconscious in a fucking alley? So that only deserves 6 months because it's not rapey enough for you. These are people in the atheist community. These are people that, you know, people go and they watch their videos and they're just like, yeah, man, yeah. And I watch that video and then I go and I look in the comments section. I'm going to see, does anybody bring this up? Does anybody point this out? Fuck no. None of their fans were pointing this out to them, how fucking absurd it is to say that, well, you know, he only deserves 6 months because they left the party together. Nobody pointed that out. No, nobody said, hey, you know, I think it's kind of fucked up that you're trying to minimalize and trivialize rape. That's a little fucked up. Nobody said that. No. Not one person. So it's not just the religious community. You know, this is a mindset that has just kind of tended to permeate our society in general. So many you know, so many men out there. I see them on atheist pages, atheist groups, and you know, these sort of conversations come up, and there's people making all sorts of excuses for dudes doing this shit, and why they shouldn't be treated harshly for raping people because their rape wasn't rapey enough. Cosby's rapes weren't rapey enough. Well, all he did was fucking drug women, and then rape them and molest them. That's all he did. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's not like he killed them. Why are we trivializing rape? Like it's just something that's okay to be trivialized. It's beyond me that happens in our society in general, and especially in the atheist community. What? Since when does logic not apply in every aspect of your life if you're an atheist? Isn't logic what brought you out of religion if you were ever in it? Isn't logic what tells you that there's probably no God? You know? If you can logically come to that conclusion, why wouldn't you use logic in the rest of your life and realize, hey, there's no situation where rape is okay. It's just not okay. You shouldn't do that. I don't know. I think Allie was wanting to talk about something, and I kind of just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she needs a second. Yeah, I'll let Tony speak for a minute.
Yeah, I think you and I have had kind of this talk before when it comes to the atheist community. Again, I personally don't see that much misogyny, if not any. Of course, I can't really comment on the video you saw. I would have to see it myself, which I'm probably not even going to. But, damn it, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, but, to me, sorry, one of my friends is commenting in the side chat. Apparently the judge's ruling was that his crime was not heinous enough to warrant more than 6 months, which I agree, doctor, is fucked up, because to me, rape is rape. And that guy should have got the same penalty as Jared from Subway or Bill Cosby. And as far as Jared from Subway is concerned, I'm sure he's tasting footlongs now. That's pretty much all I gotta say.
Are you ready now, Allie? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. So, I mean, I think that what we need to really examine here is there are a lot of men who are angry at the fact that there seems to be a lot of discussion, especially with the whole Brock Turner case, that women lie about rape, right? And that's something that is true. Some women have indeed lied about rape. I knew a girl in high school who went to my church. She had a boyfriend for 3 years, and she wound up pregnant. Okay, so she was terrified. She couldn't have an abortion. That was completely against our mentality at that church. Abortion was the ultimate sin. And she went to her parents and said, my boyfriend raped me. I didn't want to have sex. We'd been together for 3 years, and he raped me. And he went to court, and he went to jail. And after he went to jail, she ended up telling the truth. He didn't rape me. We've been having sex for a year, and I happened to get pregnant. So I see men's anger. I do, and I understand men's anger, because a woman can say I was raped and fuck a man's life for forever. She loved this boy, and he loved her. I had never in my life seen a boy so incredibly happy and in love and just cherish a woman the way he cherished her. He absolutely loved her. And instead of telling the truth, she was willing to sell his entire life down the fucking drain so that people wouldn't know she was a slut and had sex. And of course, I don't think she's a slut. It's just that's the mentality of the church. So women can lie. And I think, that frustrates men. And it does put men in this situation where they do try to justify things like this when they happen. She did leave the party with him without a fight. She wanted to leave the party with him. But what we need to understand is when she is passed out behind a dumpster and he's fucking her and she says it was rape, and two men catch him and they have to chase him. If he was doing nothing wrong, if they were having consensual sex, two men wouldn't have had to have chased him and tackled him. You have to understand that 1 minute, just 1 minute into that, he ruined her entire life. And he got 6 months for it. And that's just not fair. Yes, women have lied about rape. Yes, that has happened, and that really sucks. And I understand men, and I understand their anger at women and their mistrust and things of that nature. But that doesn't mean that what Brock Turner did was justified in any way. And it doesn't mean that his low punishment here was justified in any way. Some women have lied, and they are dirty, disgusting, filthy cunts for it. Okay, but this happened. This happened. We have witnesses that this happened. He ran. This was rape. And we can't sit here and say that it wasn't that bad. Because unless you've been raped yourself, how do you know? How do you know it wasn't that bad? How do you know what this girl lives with every day? Women kill themselves because they don't want to face what happens after they've been raped. They feel like they're damaged goods. They feel like they can't go on. They can't hold positive relationships anymore. And some women are just fine after rape. Some women are just fine and do go out and find healthy relationships and everything else. But how do we know that in this one case, that her entire life isn't just completely devastated now? And it sucks. And so for any man who's watching and who feels that, women can be liars and so we need to be very careful with what we call rape. You've got a woman sitting right here on your side. I 100% do agree with you. We do need to be careful about what we call rape because women can lie, and one lie can absolutely ruin a man's life, and it's not fair. It's not fair, especially when a woman can rape a man, and that doesn't. It still ruins his life, but our lives aren't ruined for it. I don't often see women go to jail for raping men, and I do believe it happens way more frequently than we ever hear. So you've got an ally here in me. I definitely will stand up and say that. But when we know that there has been a rape, and it has been 100% admitted that it was a rape, it was discovered as a rape, he was chased down and tackled as a rapist. We need to accept that was a terrible thing, and he deserved to be brought to justice, and he wasn't. He got a light sentence, and that just wasn't fair.
All right, guys, we're approaching the last 2 minutes of the show. I'm gonna let everybody get their final thoughts in. We'll start off with Tony and go to Allie, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I haven't talked much tonight, have I? Sorry, I'm thinking here for a second. When it comes to this, I guess, specific story, if I was that person's father, there is no way in hell I would make my daughter apologize for anything, no matter how devoutly religious I was. And this story does sort of touch a little home for me because, as I've said before, I've got 5 sisters. One of them happens to be a Baptist. She used to go to church, but not anymore, probably for the same reason that Allie previously stated, that it's nothing but a toxic environment once you get into it. And as far as feminine, as I wrote in the chat, I've actually been falsely accused. So to any feminists out there who think that women don't falsely accused, you can talk to me because I've been falsely accused. Of course, it was in high school. I'm not going to go into the whole story. But, yeah, it's pretty much all I got.
I have to bring this up, and I know we've only got 2 minutes, so I won't read it all. I'll post it on the Devil's site. But just since we were on the topic of this, in the Craigslist ad in Shreveport, Louisiana, there is there was a personals in the rants and raves right now. It says, "To Lauren, that bitch that wants my husband. Dear Lauren, the Stonewall whore. Thank you for constantly butting into my marriage and persuading my husband to divorce me. Thank you. You have no idea what a nightmare you've saved me and my children from. To reward you for your services, I'm offering you my husband for keeps." And she goes off and off and off and off and off. So here we are. We've got this woman. This is just a live example right now. You can go to the Shreveport Craigslist personals, rants and raves, and read that yourself. You know, we're women who blame each other when men do something fucked up. And we're women who blame each other when we fuck things up ourselves. So, you know, I thought that was appropriate for what we were talking about here. To tie things up in my thoughts, you know, if your husband rapes a child, and you sit on your ass in front of your entire congregation and let that child apologize to you for your husband finding her tempting enough to rape her. If you just sit on ass and let that happen and you don't stand up and tell that girl she owes you no apology, that the entire church owes her an apology, if you don't do that, I don't care if that little girl was in a bikini, high heels, red lipstick, hair all done, and rubbing her ass on your husband's lap. Okay? If you're gonna sit there and let her apologize for your husband raping you, you are a sorry fucking piss poor excuse for a human being. And you know, you don't fucking deserve to breathe. But yeah, that's all I have to say to wrap this up.
Thank you, Allie. Tell us how you really feel. All right, guys. I guess my closing thoughts on this whole situation is this. I think we as a society need to come to the understanding that although people can and do lie on occasion, some things people don't tend to lie about that often. Rape tends to be one of those things. The vast majority of the times when someone claims that someone else has raped them, they're telling the truth as best that they remember it, as best that they can know it. In a situation like the Brock Turner case, when you were caught having sex with an unconscious woman behind a fucking alley, and two people have to chase you down, that in and of itself spells fucking guilt. Okay? That doesn't necessarily mean 100% that you're fucking guilty, but that smells guilty as fuck. If you're innocent, what the fuck are you running from? You know? And if she's unconscious, how can she possibly say that you're innocent? How could she possibly have consented to anything? You know? Nobody was there for the whole fucking occurrence. Nobody knows exactly what the fuck happened but him. And, you know, as much as she can remember, maybe her. Those are the only two people that were there from point A to point B for the whole situation. So they're the only two that know. In the situation with this little girl in this church, this is just a man taking advantage of a position of power in which he was able to sexually assault a young woman and rape her because of his position of power. And it happens time and time again. It happens quite often in the Catholic Church with priests and young boys. We see it quite often. And of course that doesn't mean all of the Catholic Church is a terrible, terrible thing and that all priests are fucking pedophiles and child rapists. But that does mean that it is something that needs to be addressed. And we need to come to an understanding that no one should ever be in any sort of position of supposed power where they can, take advantage of people like that. No matter what that position of power is. Whether you're the President of the United States, whether you're a priest, a pastor, whether you're an uncle, an aunt, any number of situations where people are in that sort of position of power and authority, that doesn't give you the right to do anything harmful to another human being, especially a child. And I think these are the cases that we have to take with utmost seriousness. And these are the cases that we should definitely be throwing the book at these people. Because you didn't just take advantage of another person physically, you took advantage of their trust. You were in a position of authority and power, and you took advantage of their trust, as well as taking advantage of them on a physical level, as well as harming them on a physical level. And honestly, that makes you a disgusting, terrible fucking human being. And you deserve whatever book can be thrown at you, as hard as it can be thrown. And I feel no pity for you. I don't care how many times you say you're sorry and you feel remorse. You should have known before you ever fucking did it. There are plenty of us who have the ability to be in that sort of situation and never take advantage of it. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are in that same sort of situation where we have that authority and that power over others. We never take advantage of other people. So, if you can't figure it out as an adult fucking human being, I don't feel any sympathy or pity for you. And if you feel like the victim deserves blame, then you need to actually, maybe pick up a book, start trying to understand ethics, what it is to be an ethical human being. Try to get a better grip on who you are as a person, because that's a fucked up mindset to have. You don't blame victims for what happened to them. It's just not an ethical thing to do. That makes you look like a douchebag, and that totally invalidates anything else you have to say. Once you do that, you start blaming the victim, you start making excuses for people that do heinous shit, then, yeah, you've invalidated yourself completely, and I don't feel any pity or sympathy for you at all. And I'm certainly not going to listen to your arguments and go, well, it makes a good point. No, I'm not even going to listen to what the fuck you have to say. You've lost any ability for me to possibly even think about respecting you. So, as always, the ideas and opinions expressed here are not necessarily the ideas and opinions of all members of Atheist Republic. We have a huge team of people, and we cannot possibly speak for all of them, nor do we speak for the entire atheist community at large. Millions, if not billions, of atheists out there, and we just can't speak for all of them. I'm sure they all have their own thoughts and opinions, and you're welcome to have your own page or make your own videos and tell us how you feel. I don't want to speak for you. I'm just speaking for me and trying to get some shit off my chest. That's what we do here. If you like the things that the Atheist Republic organization does, we are a nonprofit organization, and we are trying to build a strong atheist community online and in your local communities with our consulates. We're trying to bring atheists together and actually build communities in your local cities. If you like these things that we do, please go to atheistrepublic.com and support us in any way, shape, or form that you feel fit. If you'd like to join our team and you'd like to express your opinions in blogs, or maybe you've got a book you want to publish, we also do that. Please visit atheistrepublic.com, visit our volunteer page, sign up for some stuff, see if you want to join the team, be a part of this. Next week, September the 19th, we will have a special guest, Dan Errol. Dan Errol is an accomplished author. He has a new book coming out in November talking about secular activism. And we're going to talk to Dan about his new book. We're going to talk to him about secular activism. Dan is also a very respected blogger, and he most recently has been trying to just really bring attention to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky and all the backhanded bullshit that Ken Ham's been trying to pull over the wool. Pull the wool over people's eyes with that fucking debacle that is, honestly, I think it's going to be the first landlocked ship ever in the history of creation to sink. So, hey, that's kind of a beautiful thing. So join us next week, same time, same channel, and we will have Dan Errol on here, and we'll have a good discussion about secular activism. So please stay tuned and join us then. This has been the Devils in God's Country. Have a nice night.